Hi, crafty friends. I'm Tina, the creative guru with Gems, Paper, Scissors. And today we get to put together the first couple of pages of 2026's 52-week album. So, for the last couple of days, I've been going live and putting together the first layout in our workshopping kit. In this case, it is called Exploring Nature. But you do not have to use the same kit I am. I am doing this to keep me actually working on this year's scrapbook, but also to encourage you to dedicate the time to join me on your own workshop kit. So I have an album that I've started. I've opened it up. I pulled out all of the things. This has actually been sitting on my shelf for a hot minute. And you'll see that in the aspect of it's from my close to my heart days. Okay. We have these wonderful post-bound albums exactly like this, but it's black. And I happen to have had some that I had stocked up on when they were on clearance. So I have very narrow depth shelves, and I prefer the post-bound albums. I know a lot of people prefer the D-ringed albums. Those are about 4 inches deeper onto that shelf, and they would overhang by a good several inches. That doesn't really feel really crisp and clean for me. So, and even if I did have deeper shelves, I would still probably go with D-ring albums. They're a little bit harder to set up initially, but once you've got it put together, I feel it looks more clean and more versatile than the D rings. The D rings are 2.5 inches inside, and 2 3/4 is the spine of the outside. Now, if you have a whole bunch of albums that is the perfect size every single time, great. If you want some variables, like some of my albums are 1/2 inch, others are closer to 3 or even 3.5 inches, then a post-bound album is more your pace. So a post-bound album can actually go as wide as this. This is the spine cover. So this can get up to almost 8 inches. Now, granted, if you're getting this big, you are putting your posts at risk and having the threads shear and it pop. So I don't really recommend going this big, but I've had a 6-inch spine before. I just made sure to really reinforce my threading on my posts. But posts are super cool. You know, you can get different length ones, but you can also, like this is a pretty long one right here. But you can also get extenders that are a great way to make a shorter post longer. Okay. And you can keep adding to it in small little increments until you've got the length that best fits your project. So I love that versatility. Today, I am going to start off with my posts all being the same length. I have a collection, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and just start off with these 3-hour posts have this wonderful little handle, which is so nice because when it's in your album, it gives you something to grab a hold of to open it to allow you to feed more pages on. Now, I tend to take all of my twirly post covers and set them aside in my little, I have a gizmo box. It has my tip protectors for adhesive. It has blades for my Cricut. blades for my swivel X-Acto knife, and so much more. This is where all those teeny tiny little odds and ends that you just go, oh, if it falls, I will be in trouble. And that's what goes in here, and it lives off to the side. Okay, so our post-bound albums take 3 posts. And what you do is the one with the company stamp on it is our back. And the blank one is our front. So the way this works is you open it up until you get to your holes and you thread your posts in. This does have a magnet. You can actually see the little outline on this. So you go ahead and curl that over. And now you're ready to start. You can actually see the magnets there. You can start adding your pages. Now, I am not going to lock this in super hard because we're still working with this. And what you do is you take our page protector, and ours are really beautiful. They're a heavy weight that I have had some sitting in my sunlight and not climate controlled room for years and years and years, and they have not gotten brittle. Whereas the ones from the big box store or other companies, I have found break. They just break. It happens. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a space because of the way that the binding works. And that's okay. So, and then I grabbed a self-healing mat. I use it for my Cricut. You could go ahead and use a sewing styled one, but we're going to be cutting my page protectors. So on my left hand side, it's ready to just go in. I'm not doing any cuts. I'm not adding any flip flaps. So we're just going to feed this in. Now, when you open this album, I save the very first page to summarize what is in it. So little tidbits, little stories, memories from the whole year or expectations of the year. I know some people that go ahead and just start off with a standard 12 by 12 layout like this. You see how easy that was to thread in? And now this is protected. People are not going to be leaving their fingerprints on. It's less likely to get damaged, and it is ready for viewing. I'm going to slide this off to the side because this page, if you recall yesterday, I did some flip flaps and a journaling card aspect. And all of this is going to be needing me to cut. So I am going to take my Take Your Pick tool. I'm removing the clay, the sticky tip, and dropping that off to the side. I am now screwing on, this is an accessory that you can purchase separately, my craft tool. It is nicely locked in. It is not going to fall out. It is not going to swivel. This is a newer blade, so it is nice and sharp. I keep my cap on until I am ready to use this, okay? And I'm going to switch out my tip here from my spatula and larger pokey tool that come with, this comes with the original Take Your Pick tool. This is an additional add-on, and that's how you can get the crafter's tool knife as well as this tip. And I'm choosing to switch out this tip for, I call it my dentist tool. It has a little hook, and it will make it nicer as I'm adding my items to slide in and move about. It just will make my hands happier. Okay, so I have removed my 2 flip flops and set them aside. I am grabbing another page protector. I know that I want it to be facing this way in the album. And some people will measure this off because they are concerned with accidentally cutting their layout. And it's a smart move. But I take chances. You know this about me. So it is now in its page protector. It is glorious. If I was hesitant to cut my page protector, I could go on ahead and peel up my backing. You see the adhesive right there. And I could stick it straight onto my page protector and be done with it. And that would be perfectly fine. It would still turn out wonderful. People could still flip through, but you can kind of see that stickum pattern, those dots would show. They aren't a big deal. They'd still look great, but I choose not to do that today. So I am going to use my self-healing mat, and I know I'm just going to drop it in because I'm going to be bouncing from the top to the bottom. And anyways, so I am going to line this up towards the top because if you remember, I left adhesive off of my picture mat. Okay, but I can still kind of see the hints of it. You can see the white poking through. This is going to allow me to mark my line. And usually, let's see if I've got my Sharpie handy or if I forgot it. I think I forgot my Sharpie, and that's okay. We can persevere, folks. So I'm going to just grab my tweezers because they have a really sharp pokey tool. No, I'm not. Let's grab our Take a Pick. That's why it has that hook, right? And that should be able to poke through. I am going to just gently poke and poke right at the edge of that mat. I am going to grab a flat surface and slide. You can now see, I think you can see, let's add a little light to our work. Nope, that didn't help. Sorry, folks. You can see, especially in person, where I poked those little holes. Here's one, and here's the other. Okay, so I am going to line this up one tip to the other. Grab my craft knife with the sharp blade down, and from one tip to the next tip, I'm just cutting a slice. Okay, until it connects to that dot. And now I can use my dental type tool to lift that up. Okay, that means it's still protected as long as nothing goes inside the sheet, right? I know that this is aimed to go top to bottom. I am now removing the sticker back. Okay, and you can see those dots really don't show up a lot, but you can still see them. And that's what you would see on top of the page protector if you attached it on top. Okay, but in this case, I am reaching behind this photo. I'm lifting it up just a wee bit, and I am threading this in. Now I am trying very hard to keep my fingers on the adhesive so it does not stick to the front. It's not going to work that way because my page protector is too good. So we're going to slide it out just a wee bit and slide this behind the photo. Just like so. And I am lining this up visually and pressing down. Okay. And we're going to go ahead, slide the sheet back on in. And this is a little fussy, folks. It's not like a quickie thing. As you're seeing, this adds a good 10 minutes to your project, and that's okay because long term, it is going to be fabulous. Now I'm going to thread this through that opening that I trimmed on in. And there we go. And now when people are turning the page, here's my glorious, glorious, glorious little flip flap. We are going to do this again, and it's going to pull through. There's just no ifs and ands about this because of the fact that I'm going back and forth. So I'm going to actually pull that through so that it is safe while we're doing all of this. Okay. And you see how tough this page protector is. Okay. I'm not creasing it. It is still gorgeous. These are amazing page protectors. Okay. We're going to do this again towards the bottom of the other photo. Like so. Like so. And I'm going, since I'm already cutting, I'm going to do this again at the base of this photo for my journaling card. Okay. So that I can just do a couple of cuts and be done. Okay. Let's go ahead and move our self-healing mat on down. Switch out the tip cover to the craft knife. Grab our straight edge and cut to our mark. Here's another mark. Line that up and cut. Just like so. So there we go. I've got both of my cuts done. I'm going to close up my craft knife. I can now move my self-healing cutting mat out of the way. Make sure this actually cut all the way through and open it up. At which point this can slide in and out. And will sit on top. This can get a little grungy, but that's okay. It now is ready for people to read the journaling. So let's go ahead and slide this out one last time and get our flip flap for here attached. And lift up that adhesive cover. Lift up so that I can go behind my photo. Tuck this on in. And I butt it up until it's right on that edge and evened out as best as I can manage. I think I probably wanted that a little further over, but that's okay. And now let's go ahead and get this back in the page protector and thread our items on through. Just like so. Okay. Okay. That kind of tried hooking onto. This is get a little, it tries to catch on things that don't lay flat. All of those layers can catch on those seams. But there we go. Okay. So here is my journaling card. Just like so. And then here is my flap for this picture. And here's the flap for this picture. Thread them on through and lay them flat. And just like that, I have this gorgeous, protected, expanded photos. Okay. Really nice, really simple, and lays gorgeous. If I think I'm actually going to leave this out a little bit to remind me to come back to journal. Okay. So this has a little bit of thickness to it. And with that, I mean, look at that. That's got some thickness here in the album. It is best if you can have your spine be fairly flat. Now, because this is, there's a little bit of cushion space, airspace for the thicker parts at this stage in the game, I'm just going to go on ahead and thread this. Now, if this was, say, partway through the book and I had that thicker dimensionals added, I would grab a spine expander. Let's help get this in focus a little better. I would take this spine expander. There we go. And I would fold it in half and then put it between to help keep everything smoother. Okay. Because that's going to add a nice little thickness to the spine. And I'll explain this further as needed as this layout builds. So after this week, we have week 1 of 2026 in my album. First page, second page with flip flaps laying as I desire. Thank you for joining me today, and we will continue this next week. Till then, keep on crafting and find your joy.